I still saw over and over again, the attackers are still abusing something that is called misconfigurations. It is still open. It doesn't really matter if you have the top security toolset in the world. You can have the best EDR, DLP, firewall, IPS, whatever it is, you will still get breached.
Welcome to an all-new episode of All Aboard. My name is Brittany. I'm one of All Aboard's producers, and today I get the honor of sharing Alex's really fascinating conversation with Tal Kollender, who is the co-founder, CEO, and CISO of GYTPOL, which is an endpoint security solution that's just really revolutionizing the way companies address device misconfiguration. Tal has a fascinating background. She was a teenage hacker who went on to run computer units in the Israeli army before moving into the private sector. And that past shaped her unique approach to cybersecurity. It allowed her to see a fresh solution for what is a common security problem. That ability to innovate and Tal's willingness to just take on tough challenges and tackle them will no doubt be an inspiration to anyone listening today, whether you're building a security program of your own or maybe thinking about starting a security startup. There's something in this one for everyone, so let's get right to it.
Tal, great seeing you again, and thanks for taking the time to join. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Alex, for having me. As always, it's always a pleasure talking to you, get some updates, and yeah.
Yeah, totally. And the first time that we met was in Vegas at RSA, and I was just really blown away by your story, the company that you're building at GYTPOL, and I thought it'd be super, super fun to just have you on the All Aboard podcast and talk a little bit about that. So maybe you could introduce yourself a little bit and talk about GYTPOL in particular and what you guys do.
Sure. So nice to meet you, everyone. Tal Kollender, one of the founders and the CEO for GYTPOL. GYTPOL actually is still bootstrapped. We decided not to raise any money, and it looks like as for now, it's pretty successful. More than 10, 11 million ARR. We are running, and we have so many, I would say, things going on. We are building the team in a very, very good way, so we can have the base, as a good base, and then we can ramp up. And maybe before telling you where I am today, so one of the things that I would even, share with you is the challenges and the future. But it is important to understand our story. And I started as a hacker when I was young. And after I made a very nice amount of money before the end of the high school, then I joined the army. And in the army, I started in a fighter pilot course, and then I continued into the computer units, several computer units, which they adapted my black hat hacker skills and made it white hat hacker skills. And they pretty much told me that I need to stop helping my pocket and start helping my country. And as a patriot, it was very easy for me to be convinced. Plus, I know that it is a matter of days or months or years until, it will be super illegal. And, I'm talking about 24 years ago, 23. And so the army or the military service pretty much taught me how it is to take a journey from, taking something that I know as my small world, my own computer, and to be pretty much like an admin for 150K devices, at least 200K, even more. It doesn't really matter what unit it was, but it's to grow every time. And I liked it because out of a sudden, think about 18 years ago, you are a domain admin of, and I didn't really know what it is, but domain admin, wow. As a young soldier, you get to control on the entire systems of the army. Obviously, you have a dedicated course, etc., and having the entire, I would say, huge hat of wearing it without, and having the responsibility, then you become this journey. And it doesn't really matter if you are a fighter or if you do what I did, or this makes the maturity level way faster. So You are 20 or you are 18 and you become 30 or 28, within month. And this is one of the things that I've noticed. So the rapid change made me also look at this a bit different, to get the right perspectives and understand that what I can learn here, I can probably never learn in that, in any facility or any place in the world again in the 2 years, because they take a junior and they make them being like a very senior within a very short period of time. And in the army, I started seeing things that I used to do before the army that are still relevant. And after the army, when I continued the journey, and then I ended up at Dell EMC. It was the last time I actually, enterprise that I used to work for before GYTPOL, that I still saw over and over again. The attackers are still abusing something that is called misconfigurations. It is still open. It doesn't really matter if you have the top security toolset in the world. You can have the best EDR, DLP, firewall, IPS, whatever it is. You will still get breached. And why? Because it can be a social engineering. It can be someone from the outside that eventually, when they really want, is to find the weakest link, the weakest person, the weakest device. Once they are in, moving laterally, they didn't really care if moving laterally is because of, I would say, like something really nice as moving laterally for, abusing misconfigurations that the top EDR in the market cannot detect. Not because it's not risky, because the EDR are not doing it, are not designed to do it from the beginning. So I created, I would say, a set of scripts every place I went to when I worked for Dell EMC, and those scripts were pretty much, I would say, like, were used pretty much everywhere. I needed sometimes to rewrite them because I couldn't get any code out or any code in. But one of the things that were pretty frustrated is that I was tired of doing things kind of manually. And I said, okay, there must be a solution for this problem. And this is where I said, okay, let's find out if there is a solution for this problem. So I called Microsoft, and back in the days, like the CrowdStrike and the Monday end of the world, etc. And I said, give me a tool that can automate those things. And no one had this tool, and they pretty much dismissed me. I was okay. For me, every single time when someone said, don't call me, we call you. I said, okay, for me, it's a challenge. So I set up this challenge. I found Gilad, and then Gilad introduced me to Yaakov. And then this is the Git of GYTPOL. I'm going to make a very long story short. And we decided to do it.
What is the pole of GYTPOL?
Pol is like policy, because no one can validate that their policy is applied properly or not.
Okay, gotcha.
And this is how we started. And then something really magical happened. The no's that I used to hear, I used to hear, pretty much became a yes. At the beginning of the product, which was officially announced in May 19, the beginning of the product, it was mainly, to detect things, to show you what's going on, to show you how it impacts your network, how it impacts your performance. And then it was, people measured it as nice to have. Nice to have, when you have budget, you buy. When you don't have budget, you don't. So I said, no way, nice to have is not enough for me. I need to make GYTPOL must have. What would be a great excuse or a great thing to do to make it as a must have? And this is where our impact analysis, remediation and revert came into the picture by showing everyone that, hey, if you have a Windows PC, a server, a VDI, a Linux, a Mac, everything, every device is misconfigured. When we saw the list of the misconfigurations, then we even enabled the user to see, and the admin obviously, or again, the admin of the system to see if there is a usage or not. Meaning, everyone knows that if they will run whatever, like a pen test or vulnerability, maybe they have something. Okay, so far, nothing new. But if they will see that a specific principle, RSMBV1, TLS version 1, RC4, and I can go on and on and on, local admins, if they exist, if they are enabled, or there's still something like that, and if they were used, or in the case of the local admin, were logged on in the past 90 days, That is very powerful. So they can decide based on that they can remediate without any business disruption. And then they can even revert and bring it back to the misconfigured state. So that's pretty much the power of GYTPOL. That's pretty much what we see. And again, this is what made us from must-have, nice to have to must-have, because this is the power of showing you a different concept of a common problem that even Gartner are very excited about it. I mean, we just started calls with Gartner. Finally, they see something, that is no repetitive. Not in a bad thing, but again, I mean, it's a thing that finally we are there marketing-wise, or we are getting there, I would say. Because up until recently, few months ago, our power was mainly, or our leads came for CISOs. One CISO recommended another. Not really events. We didn't invest in any event. We didn't invest in any channel power. But now things are changed, and I'm so happy about it.
Yeah, no, that's an awesome story. Tell me a little bit about the beginning part. So you said 2019 you started the company, and you got a couple of founders together. You knew the problem you wanted to start with because you solved it previously as a CISO at your previous gigs and working for the government, it sounds like. But how did you go from, I've got an idea of a problem, I've got some scripts, I've got a couple of founders, to I've got paying customers? Like, what was that first part of the journey like to get those early customers? And it sounds like the product was originally kind of like a nice to have. And like, how did you navigate that?
So remember that I am motivated by people that are telling me no, not now, not irrelevant. And
You're
that is the first
one
thing.
of those founders.
Yeah, but the second thing is that remember that in Israel, we are the cyber nation. We must think out of the box. You can see the situation today, okay? You can see the recent things that happen in the world, like the pagers, okay? Insane, seriously, super smart. Now, but again, this is only one example of why we always need to think out of the box, because we are surrounded by, I would say, not our best friends. And this is where we always, one of the things that matters when there is a newborn, they say when there is a boy, okay, what is it that you are wishing for your boy? And then one of the top things would be, I wish that there will be no army. So you won't need to go to the army, because we all know what is the outcome. This is why you always need to reinvent yourself. You always need to think a few steps further to understand and to see, I would say, like the bigger picture and the future. And again, it's not 100%. It's not that it works 100% of the time. But what I can tell you is that you will see a big difference between like the founders, like the different founders, different times. And again, you will see how things are getting progress very, very fast. And this is what motivated me. And again, I said, I live only once. I'm still young and I need to do something, because I don't want to wake up, when I'm, 40, 50, 60, 70, maybe finding myself, okay, I'm thinking my routine job. I'm not that happy. You live only once. You need to have fun. You need to take challenges, of course, only if you love it, right? And that's what pretty much pushed me to go all in.
Yep. And then how did you get the early customers? Like, what did you do to actually get those first few paying customers?
So if I go back to the story, the reason or how I started the story is that a good friend of mine, Tal Kollender, he's the one that I wrote the idea on a piece of napkin when we were sitting on a bar. Then he said, okay, Tal, I don't know what you're talking about, but again, just tell me what I need to do. And then he went to the Israel aerospace industry. He walked door by door and told me what are the titles. And then he said, IT admins or something like that. I said, stop there, get in. And then he knocked on the door, they opened, and then he said, okay, I need to speak with, and then he gave me the phone. This is how the story started. And then he introduced me the first customers in Israel. And then we started by Checkpoint, and they introduced me others. They became a customer themselves. And it went like that by, again, amazing.
Yeah. So just straight up like hustle and network and like knocking on doors for the initial customers. And then
Yes.
how did you, so one of the things I thought about your story is really cool is a lot of times in cybersecurity, I think folks raise a lot of money. Like, doing the VC shuffle is a big thing, and raising a lot of money and going big in cyber is, I would say it feels like the more common path, but you bootstrapped GYTPOL the whole time. Like, tell me about why did you make that decision? I'm sure at any point in the last 5 years, you could have went out and talked to VCs and raised a venture round, especially with the progress and traction that you've had. Why did you decide not to do that?
Yeah, that is right. So Gilad and Yaakov, they used to have another startup prior to GYTPOL that they were sold to VMware back in 2011. And this startup started in around 2000. They survived any economy, like a crisis, like the 2000 kind of bubble, millennium, and then 2008, 7, 8, and then 2010 as well. And then in 2011, they actually, they got acquired. Funny enough to say that VMware they got acquired in, I don't know, 100 something $1 million. And then VMware did another round on that, like a few years after, with $2 billion. And they sold the company to their biggest competitor, like the biggest competitor of digital fuel of Gilad and Yaakov. And then Gilad and Yaakov said, let's do something more challenging. And this more challenging was, let's take no money. Let's see what's going on. And my idea was perfect for them. And I said, let's try. Again, Gilad believed in me. Yaakov at the beginning didn't understand what's going on. He said that the problem does not exist. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. And this is where we are today, which is pretty... Yeah, so...
That's pretty cool. That's a special story. And then for the initial employees, I'm assuming, did you guys put money in on your own, or did you just wait until you had customers to fund building the team?
We were waiting until customers pay. And then again, I handled alone 50, 60 customers before we got like someone that will help us. So it's like,
You
it
were
was
the true,
pretty,
you were like the first salesperson.
yeah, exactly. So
They say you have to close the first $1 million in ARR for sure.
yeah, and then remember, it's all about bottlenecks. Where is the next bottleneck? R&D, then we bring R&D. Sales, we bring sales. Marketing, and then etc.
Yep. And then tell me about, so you got your first customers just by knocking on doors and getting intros from folks. How did you scale it? Like, you went from, I don't know, 20 early customers to 300, whatever you're at now, whatever, 500 plus, whatever. How many, have you focused on scale, or is it still just knocking on doors and like in the intros and doing the basics?
I would say that we changed our approach a few months ago. We decided that events is something really important. SEOs, like marketing and channels, are very, very important. With channel process, it will take us some time. With marketing, with events, we already see traction like POVs and, lots of things. We decided to add more focus on that, to invest more time on that, and then to bring the right salespeople to help us selling more. Okay, apparently, yeah. So, yeah, sometimes it works, I would say, yeah, the thumb up. But again, up until last year, end of last year or beginning of this year, it was, like word of mouth.
Yep. And then tell me a little bit about, how did you choose to go after the specific segment that you did? So it sounds to me like you're more enterprise focused, or at least bigger customers probably.
So we also changed a few things in the past, I would say, like, again, a few months. We decided not to focus on customers that are below, I would say, 1,000 devices, because we figured out at the same time we need to invest on 1,000 and 10,000. So let's assign the small customers to one person, while the others will be sorted out between the AEs, the account executives. And we saw that closing like 200K deal, 300K deal, 150K, it's not that hard. It's actually pretty nice.
Yeah, it's like the same amount of work as like a 500 person employee.
Exactly.
Or 500 device deal. You're like,
Exactly.
well, we're on energy over here. That's interesting. What do you think the growth path looks like for you? Are you going to continue to bootstrap the company and fund it?
It's a good question. It really depends when you ask me. Like, I'm focusing right now in closing deals. Like, that's what I'm focusing on. I don't see anything, right or left. I just see that right now the option that I really see on the table is to make more money on existing opportunities and closing the year in a very good way. Again, as for now, we are profitable. Again, great, right? Like good things. But one of the things that I do not see, that again, is like, it's not that I don't, it's like, it's more than we are going more than double every year, okay? Obviously, we can go more, probably if we'll have more. But again, we need to understand the pattern. We need to understand what works, what doesn't work. But as for now, we are staying who we are. People love the bootstrap things. They do see, it's like eventually it's equity. When they get equity, it's way better to get it non-diluted. But again, it's for now, I would say that this is a very, very good opportunity to continue as we are.
Makes sense. And then last question, because I'm just dying to know the answer to this one. So
Sure.
GYTPOL sells a lot to the security organization and CISOs in particular. And I know you previously have led security teams and were CISO at various companies. What do you think what are the keys to success to selling to the CISO? Like in your mind, what works? What do they care about? How do you tap into that?
What we do actually is we do sales to CISOs, but we also sell to IT. It's like, because eventually it's a small sensor that you need to install. It's like 2.5, 3.5 megabytes, very light, but we do need to involve them and they are part of it. And one of the things that it makes the CISO is a lighter approach with the IT, because the IT see value. And usually many things that the CISO requests from them is they can address with GYTPOL. And that is why the bonding is there. So we already make sure that things are very, effective on the first call or on the first few calls, I would say. Then selling to CISO is always, again, is a pain of, I don't want to scare them, nothing like that, but they all know that there are many things and many items that they need to address, and they cannot really address them. Who can address it? I mean, the teams that can address it are the IT or maybe the networking. In order to do it, they need to show them what is wrong, and they need, okay, fix it. And then, but how can I fix it? I don't know what am I going to break. And if I'm going to break, then you are going to blame me. So closing this gap will definitely is something that definitely we see that makes perfect sense for CISOs and security. This is one approach. Another approach is definitely to show them something that we did is the return on investment. Everything that you do with GYTPOL, you see the value in money. Obviously, you said the FTE. And then every remediation that you take with GYTPOL, simple as that. Misconfiguration are still there, right? I mean, everyone knows the CSPM of the world. We are on the device. So having the ability that every click they will see $, that is a big surprise for them.
Interesting. And is that something that you put in the product? You actually communicate the ROI value in the product itself?
Correct.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. So someone clicks a button and you're like, you just saved $1,000.
We are trying to be very lighter. Way lighter than that. So they save a few dollars each click, but they do many clicks. Or they do one click that is relevant for thousands of devices. So, and then they do, Yeah,
that makes a ton of sense. Super cool. Well, Tal, great. I appreciate you being on. I know you're busy building a company and closing deals, it sounds like. So thanks for jumping on. I appreciate it. I think this was a really good conversation, and I really appreciate your insight on how you started the company and your story, and also like what you found to be successful in sales.
Thank you so much, Alex. Always pleasure being here. Thank you.
Great, Tal. Thanks for tuning in. This episode of All Aboard is brought to you by the team at Conductor One. We'd love to hear your feedback. Send us a message at allaboard@conductor1.com. Till next time.